itself as a peacemaker. Michelle Kellerman, NPR News, Brasilia.
Stay informed with NYC Now, a brand new podcast from WNYC. 3 quick updates a day, top stories, and in-depth reporting. Listen to NYC Now weekdays wherever you get your podcasts. 49 and mostly cloudy, scattered afternoon showers, mostly cloudy, and 58 for a high today.
WNYC is supported by Master Voices production of Gilbert and Sullivan's Iolanthe. Christine Ebersol, David Garrison, and Santino Fontana star in this satirical comic opera. Tonight at 7 at Carnegie Hall, led by Ted Sperling. Learn more at mastervoices.org.
Marketplace Morning Report is coming up next, and then in 10 minutes at 9 o'clock, it's the BBC NewsHour on 93.9 FM. Let's check in with London to see what they're working on. London, good morning.
Good morning, WNYC. I'm Tim Franks. On today's NewsHour, is South Sudan the unlikely peace broker for conflict to the north? That's BBC NewsHour, coming up at 9 on 93.9 FM, WNYC.
Two of America's largest grocery store chains are attempting a $25 billion merger, but some are worried about being supermarkets swept under the rug. The deal could mean fewer stores and less grocery access for those in greatest need. I'm Melissa Harris Perry, and that's next time on The Takeaway, weekday afternoons at 3 on 93.9 FM.
Investors look askance at other regional banks that share some traits with the one that collapsed this weekend.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Progressive. Progressive Commercial Insurance offers personalized rates and customizable coverages for your business vehicles. More at progressivecommercial.com. And by VBrick. VBrick unlocks the power of video for customers' business processes. VBrick.com/marketplace to learn more.
I'm David Brancaccio in New York. An index that tracks stocks in regional mid-sized banks fell 5.5% yesterday. Investors targeted many, but three in particular, PacWest, Western Alliance, and Metropolitan Bank, with their stocks yesterday falling 28%, 15%, and 20% respectively. Marketplace's Nova Safo explains why.
In announcing the purchase of First Republic Bank after regulators seized it over the weekend, J.P. Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon declared this part of the crisis is over. But investors are not ready to ease their concerns over the effects higher interest rates may be having on regional banks' balance sheets. All three mid-sized lenders under scrutiny now, PacWest, Western Alliance, and Metropolitan Bank, have reported results for the first quarter of the year, and all three reported outflows of deposits. Western Alliance and PacWest are down about $6 billion each. The much smaller Metropolitan Bank reported outflows of about $150 million. The problem is that regional banks may be stuck with lots of low-interest bonds. With depositors pulling large sums, these banks might have to sell at a loss to pay out withdrawals. I'm Nova Safo for Marketplace.
If I'm not being too forward, may I see the palm of your hand? Interesting. I see. A 1/4 point increase in interest rates in your future. And this is likely to happen shortly after 2 Eastern Time today. This would be the 10th increase as the Fed tries to cool the economy as a way to tamp down inflation. We'll also be listening to see if the Fed chair says anything about the second biggest bank failure in history when First Republic collapsed over the weekend and giant J.P. Morgan Chase picked up most of it. Marketplace's Justin Ho has been looking into how the banking industry is likely to change going forward.
For one, experts told me more regulation is probably coming, at least when it comes to mid-sized banks, like the ones that failed. But one fear is that the industry will become more consolidated. This has been happening in the banking industry throughout the last few decades, but if more banks fail, bigger banks could gobble them up, and you get even more concentration. If bigger banks keep getting bigger, one side effect could be that newer businesses might have a harder time getting loans. That's because national banks tend to favor established businesses, where it's easier and quicker to figure out whether they're creditworthy. Another side effect is that banks could close branches. Over the last 10 years, merger-related branch closures have had an outsized impact on lower income and rural communities. I'm Justin Howe for Marketplace.
If the Fed does hike again today, it would put their key short-term rate at a 16-year high. The benchmark 10-year interest rate is down slightly this morning, 3.4%. After the Dow, S&P, and NASDAQ each fell more than 1% yesterday, stock index futures are back up a bit now. S&P and NASDAQ futures are all up 0.2%. Hollywood writers hit the picket lines yesterday. The previous contract has now expired, and the union, the Writers Guild of America, has been negotiating with TV and film producers. Pay is the big thing. The wider entertainment industry ecosystem is going to feel this. For instance, Greater Atlanta is a center for filming. Marketplace's Lily Jamali has that.
This time of year is usually one of the busiest for companies that serve film and TV productions, like Atlanta Craft Services in Georgia. Founder Zach Abrams says his business, providing food on set, has figured out how to handle the annual onslaught.
We've built a pretty solid network of people that we can call on. If we do have multiple productions, sometimes we end up having to turn business down.
Not this year. Abrams says most productions book 3 to 4 months ahead, but in the lead up to the writers' strike,
we've not had a whole lot of interest or inquiries in the services that we provide, I would say, really for the past few months.
Reality shows have been helping. Lego Masters wrapped a week and a half ago in the Atlanta area. And in Marietta, Georgia, Parks, Recreation, and Facilities Director Rich Buss says he's getting some calls about commercials, too.
I mean, there's a lot of good benefit to local folks in town who rent out parking lots for base camps and do things like that.
But an industry that brought $4.4 billion to the state of Georgia last year has been fairly quiet. Local merchants aren't getting the influx of customers that spend money in Marietta when production is happening. Buss says the city usually issues around 50 production permits each fiscal year. With just 2 months left,
I think we're at about 31 right now, so we're a little behind pace.
The last writer's strike 15 years ago lasted 100 days. I'm Lily Jamali for Marketplace.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Amazon Business. From small business to big enterprise and everything in between, Amazon Business helps simplify the supplies buying process. Amazon Business, your partner for smart business buying. And by Charles Schwab. Schwab understands that wealth management is personal. That's why Schwab offers flexible, personalized financial planning crafted for their investors' individual goals. Learn more at schwab.com.
The advances we're living in artificial intelligence already have some investors moving away from companies seen as facing stiff new competition from the software robots. Stocks in several big education companies are down sharply. California-based Chegg, which does many things, including online study guides, saw its stock price cut in half yesterday. This after the CEO said that ChatGPT is hurting Chegg's growth. Vishal Gupta, professor at the University of Southern California's Marshall School of Business, took the long view in a conversation with our editorial partners at the BBC. He said new forms of AI can do pieces of what educators do, but not everything. Still, the nature of education, he thinks, will change.
The reality is that at present, AI is pretty good at taking over low-level cognitive tasks, but somehow is yet to be able to really definitively take over high-level cognitive tasks. So what this really means is that you're not going to see sort of jobs disappear, but rather you might see jobs change in shape and shift tasks more towards having human doing high-stakes, high-level cognitive tasks and offloading grunt work onto the AI tool.
This morning, Chegg stock is rebounding some, back up about 5% pre-market. The big UK-based education company Pearson saw its stock fall 15% yesterday, but it's up this morning in London trading, erasing about half of yesterday's loss. In New York, I'm David Brancaccio. It's Marketplace Morning Report. From APM, American Public Media.